I say, Mr. President?
The senator from New Hampshire.
If the senator from Iowa needs a couple of minutes to wrap up, I don't think I will take my full 10 minutes, so I'd be happy to cede to you a couple of minutes if you'd like to use those.
I thank the senator. She's very kind. I have at least another 5 to 7 minutes to go. I have some data from CDC that I wanted to do, so I thank you very much. That's very generous of you, but I'll just pick it up later, I guess. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Senator from New Hampshire.
Thank you, Mr. President. As I've said before, and I said certainly as I came to this floor last week, governing by crisis is no way to run a government. We simply have to get our act together and work together to get the government funded again, to not lose the forest for the trees in terms of addressing the fiscal challenges that our country faces, to come up with a fiscally responsible plan that puts our nation first and puts us on a path to economic security. And frankly, we wasted too much time and energy on political brinksmanship and self-inflicted fiscal crises that also keep us from focusing on the real challenges we face, including our $17 trillion in debt, an economy that could be much stronger than it is right now to create the best climate for jobs in this country. And as I came to this floor last week, I reiterated my strongly held opposition to Obamacare because I've seen the impact hearing from businesses and individuals in New Hampshire concerned about rising health care costs. And in New Hampshire, we only have one insurer that will be on the exchange, and 10 of our 26 hospitals will be excluded from the exchange. But I also said last week that shutting down the government in an attempt to defund Obamacare was not a winning strategy for success. Why? Well, we've already seen Exhibit A, why it wasn't a winning strategy for success, because the government shut down yesterday and the Obamacare exchanges opened and continued anyway. Why is that? Because we knew in advance that the Congressional Research Service had told us that the mandatory funding piece that was put in Obamacare would continue even if the government was shut down, and we have seen that happen. And so while I continue to believe that this law is wrong for America because it's causing rising health care costs, because the notion, in fact, I think it was well said recently by the chairman of the Board of Trustees at one of our hospitals, the Frisbee Memorial Hospital, who originally supported the Affordable Care Act, but recently came to say, I supported it because we were told we could keep our doctor, and that has turned out to be a lie. So I certainly want to work with my colleagues to do whatever I can to come up with ways that we can repeal Obamacare and replace it with reforms that are actually going to drive down health care costs, allow people to keep their physicians, foster more competition in the insurance sector, to give people more choice. But we need to end where we are right now. We need to come to a resolution to keep this government funded in a fiscally responsible way. And I am glad that congressional leaders are going to speak to the president tonight, but we do not need another photo op. What we need is results. We need both sides of the aisle working together to negotiate, to come up with a plan to fund the government, to move forward, to find common ground. And I know there is some common ground in areas of Obamacare that both sides of the aisle are concerned about. For example, the medical device tax. When we had the budget votes earlier this year, The vote was 79-20 to repeal the medical device tax. Members of both sides of the aisle decided that that tax was not good for innovation, for jobs, drives up healthcare costs. So that's an area where we have had some common ground in how we can affect this healthcare law, a healthcare law that I still deeply oppose. But it is time for us to make sure that we can get the government funded again. Why? In my home state of New Hampshire, right now, the Portsmouth Naval Shipyard, one of our nation's 4 public shipyards, skilled workers there, they are being put in jeopardy. They have a very important function to defend our nation, to maintain our Virginia-class and Los Angeles submarines. Yet, due to the government shutdown, more than 1,700 workers at Portsmouth Naval Shipyard are being furloughed. And instead of focusing on maintaining our submarine fleet and defending our nation, they're worried about their paychecks, and it's wrong. Our National Guard, more than 330 of our New Hampshire National Guard military technicians are being furloughed. These individuals lost 25 to 30% of their pay this summer when they were furloughed because of sequestration. This is no way to treat Americans who are helping defend our country. They play a critical role in the operations of our Guard, and yet we also are being told that the New Hampshire Air National Guard, that if they do not receive more furlough exceptions, they may have to shut down their air refueling air bridge of operations to Europe and the Middle East. This is about the defense of our nation. Many of them have canceled their civilian jobs, days at work, to come to their drill weekend this weekend that has now been canceled, so they're losing those days of pay as well. Yesterday, I was answering my phones. I had a constituent call me saying that his family had saved for years for a vacation that is going to cost them $25,000 to $30,000. They were at the Grand Canyon, and they said, Senator Ayotte, what is going on? We took our kids out of school for 2 weeks. We've saved for years for this vacation, and we can't go down into the canyon. We must get this resolved. And we must look for common ground on both sides of the aisle to negotiate this, to get a responsible fiscal plan for the nation. And by the way, we're fighting about 6 weeks of a continuing resolution right now. Give me a break. We should be looking at long-term funding for this nation, not 6 weeks, to have this kind of impasse over 6 weeks. I can understand why the American people are frustrated and angry. So all I can say is, tonight, as congressional leaders on both sides of the aisle meet with the President of the United States, we don't need any more posturing. Let's give up the blame game on both sides. No more photo ops. You've all seen enough photo ops at this point. Come out of that meeting with results. And yes, results mean that both sides are going to have to negotiate, and both sides aren't going to get everything that they want. But that's what people do in their daily lives. That's what I know people in New Hampshire do to resolve their differences. And that's what the American people expect of us. And I hope that this ends soon so that we can move forward on behalf of this great nation. Thank you, Mr. President.